Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Stat Check. This is episode 85, Champions of 40 Kiwi. We are joined by myself, Nathan, and Anthony for the trifecta of the original hosts. And we also have the wonderful, the eponymous, the needs no introduction, Steve Joll with us today for the first half of the show. So please give him a warm welcome. He is the newest member of the Stat Check network in terms of providing content for us, and we couldn't be happier to have him here with us today. Steve, why don't you take us off with how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that. I hate needs no introduction because I was really hoping for a big introduction. So,
Well, Nathan can do that. That's fine. I don't mind.
I feel like there's a cop out in this, but no, I'm doing great. I have, as you guys know, but probably not very many other people, been through COVID and then got the flu and have had a couple of weeks of almost no voice, and it's coming back. We're getting there, but for my day job as a radio host, and to have no voice is kind of limiting professionally. But I did in my time off get some Drukhari painted, so that was kind of nice.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's taken me 3 weeks to figure out a scheme. Like I went red, then green, and I've come back to orange, and now I'm just pissing people off whenever I post a new picture, and they're going, "Come on, make up your damn mind."
It's okay. Drukhari are one of those armies where you could just be like, "Look, there are different pirate bands. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's fine, guys."
I usually recommend avoiding the red and green for the Christmas scheme, but
yeah, you don't want to. That's what my kids said. It looks like Christmas, so you don't want to be going, red and green. It's one or the other. I just haven't been able to figure out or make up my mind which one it's going to be. But we're going with orange. That is 87% decided.
Well, you've said it on the internet now. That's Scotland's gospel fact.
Yeah,
you're stuck with it. You got to put those in the Discord in the model channel now. That's what you have to do now that you're in there.
Oh yeah, actually, good point. Yeah. Now that I'm in the Discord, I'll put them in the model channel. Get feedback.
There you go. That's what we're there for.
Yeah. Everybody loves feedback. No, I'm well.
Notorious paint feedback Discord stat check.
You
joke actually, but it's pretty good for that.
Yeah.
There's like 4 very solid commission painters in our Discord who will provide you with feedback if you want it.
That's true.
But also, if you're just looking for a hype man, the Discord will also provide that. Or if you're needing like a light spritz of bullying, that is also available.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nassim, who has been made to paint his models he painted the flesh gold, and now they're not gold anymore because we bullied him. So we're changing the hobby, making it better one day at a time.
One step at a time. I would say we're making Nassim better, but boy, that's an uphill Sisyphusian task.
Anthony, wow. 10 points for using Sisyphusian in a sentence. That's amazing.
I do my best. What's up, Nathan?
Anthony, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good, and at some point I'll remember what I played Path Exile. There was a new league. So that's been fun. Shout out to Baylor Mage giving me a league guide. It's been a good little weekend. I love the shit out of Path Exile. I needed a brain dump weekend because I in a great surprise to absolutely no one, if you've been paying attention, me hot swapping careers from like IT job I knew very well into IT job that I don't know particularly well has involved learning a whole fucking bunch of stuff at once, and it's a lot of Anthony does his best during the workday. So we're getting there. It's getting better. I know more things than when I started, but that's a pretty low bar. It's going pretty good all told. Alpine is this week, so we get to go do a tournament, so that's exciting. I get to fly to Europe again, which
it's the 3rd time in 6 weeks, right?
Oh, it's not that. Oh God, it is that. Why do you have to frame it like that?
Frame it with reality and the actual time frame in which you did all the travel.
If you think about it, it's only literally 36 hours and 72 hours in the air.
In my head, it was once a month for 3 months, and I'm gonna try and keep it framed that way to limit the psychic damage that I just took. So anyway, how was your weekend, Nathan? Jesus Christ.
Oh no, I spent my weekend quietly because I'm just older now, which is why I missed the last episode. And so I went to go see Dune at the Alamo Drafthouse Theater here, where it's basically just no kids are allowed in the theater. So it's really quiet and there's alcohol, and that was a lot of fun. And then we went and tried to and looked at furniture. That was amazing. It was very adult. Dune 2 was absolutely amazing. I played a couple games of Age of Sigmar because I've decided if I can't win at 40K, I might as well win at something else that's not Crusade. And so I started painting. Weirdly enough, I've been focusing on painting a lot more than I have been on playing any of the games that I do at this point. So I have a Void Dragon that I primed, who's being done up in like a non-metallic metal style. Got some Custodes on my desk, and then I've got a bunch of Soulblight Gravelord stuff that's also on my desk for Age of Sigmar. So it's just like I've got 30 projects, and none of them are ever going to be completed. Is really how it's going. My goal of winning War Masters is looking very strange and unfavorable at this point. No, just try to focus in a little bit, but not right now.
Nathan, if you play more games to prep for War Masters than you play at War Masters at this point, I'll be surprised and impressed.
I mean, last year I played no games of prep for War Masters, and then I almost went positive with a faction I was barely familiar with.
And no backpacks. So
yeah, and no backpacks. I think if you took away the points from having no backpacks, I still won the 2 games that I won, which is good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have tied the game that I tied.
Yeah, that's fair.
Weird that.
You also had to do that while playing Death Watch, which was just objectively bad. So
it wasn't a great decision, and the 30-minute call I got with David Gaylord about the army and how to play it, while very useful, and I got to use all those lessons during War Masters, was very funny when that all of those games were all of my reps with that army basically.
Nice.
It was very funny. I am trying, I promise, I swear. I'm playing Blood Angels whenever I play 40K, and that is my rep army at this point.
You're playing them in Vibe Check, right? So you're getting at least a little bit of practice in.
I definitely would have won my game in Thousand Sons if I had at all considered the fact that I couldn't kill Magnus from top to 0 with 10 men, 10 Death Company and Lamarties.
Oh, you definitely can. You just might.
Yeah, I just didn't. And I literally told my opponent I should charge all of your mission pieces behind Magnus and just kill all of them, and then went immediately to kill Magnus instead. That's the kind of decision making. I did shoot him first. It didn't work.
I'd have just done that, man. I'm not going to lie. That's just what I also would have done. I think you're fine.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That's good. I was thinking that I did a pyrovore to myself all over again, Anthony.
No, you're fine. You can only pyropod so often.
Killing Magnus is objectively a little bit better than not killing Magnus, just as a general rule of thumb.
Yeah.
I was definitely looking at it, and I was like, if I kill Magnus, this game is just over, right? He's got nothing that can kill any of the other stuff that's on the table. I took the 55% chance to win the game.
I mean, the only question I have for you, Nathan, did you grenade him first?
I was going to say, did you remember the grenade?
I actually didn't have any CP, so I couldn't grenade him because somebody...
I mean, that's on you, bro.
Where were your command points?
In the ground. Well,
no, but your turn starts and you get 1.
Yes.
What happened between then and your shooting phase?
You re-rolled something, didn't you? You re-rolled something.
I did.
In advance?
No, I can't even remember anymore. It's all blanked out at this point.
Oh, no.
If you roll the damage roll against a blank or something like that, it will just be insulting.
I can't remember anymore.
That's for the best. I think all of us are better off not knowing what you wasted that CP on, because I don't think I can handle the emotional turmoil.
I did waste a CP on an Overwatch for a Land Raider Redeemer that did kill that giant warp thing that shoots rituals further, which my opponent was very confused by because I immediately rolled 1,000,000,000 5+ on everything, and then it just died. And my opponent was like, well, that changes the next few bits of my game. And I'm like, excellent.
Yeah.
Now that we've talked about my 40K shenanigans enough, how was your week?
Yeah, not so bad. For having a weekend off of tournaments, which I've not done in about a month, it was nice to take a break from that. I sure did spend a lot of time playing Warhammer. So I played a couple of scrum games and practice games, and also something with Goonhammer for something that might or might not be tangentially related to Blunderdome coming back. So I got to play that today, which was super fun. I'll not talk too much about that because I'll save that for the article. But yeah, just playing a whole bunch of Warhammer, playing just the strangest lists. I don't understand why I play so much Death Guard despite hating the faction, but I've played a bunch of Death Guard, playing into Guard almost like repeatedly, just like trying to crack that matchup for a few different things as well, because every Matrix I write is just Guard, I hate it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go and just play into Guard a whole bunch and figure it out. I have 2 games into Guard tomorrow, just grinding out in the Guard mines, trying to figure out how to turn that, that flip matchup into like a draw matchup so that I can make it a little more consistent on the pairings. But yeah, that's it. Not a ton else. I've not really been doing much in the way of like building or painting. I kind of got everything ready for Manchester. Now it's all just ready to roll straight into Alpine, and then we've got Home Nations the weekend after that. So that'll be another Team Scotland event. We've got our shirts in for that, which is super exciting. I would be wearing it just now, but I'm saving it for Alpine. So yeah, it's just busy. We've had a bit of inner turmoil on the Team Scotland side of things, so there's been some things to work out there and some stuff to work through that we're kind of pushing through. But yeah, all fairly a nice quiet week, which it's been a while since I've had a quiet week. So
Team America selections in 20 days.
Ooh.
22 days? Yeah, 22 days.
I mean, on the stats front, things have also been very quiet. There are only like 4 events over the weekend that we tracked. So the stats are going to be very brisk. And then we're going to talk about we're
going to talk about Steve a bunch. Yeah. So format for the show today, we're going to run through the stats and all the interesting stuff. Then we're going to talk to Steve. And then I think Steve is going to take a departure once we jump into the meta stuff so that Steve can have a reasonable day to himself. Because I'm assuming it's early morning for you over there.
I've recently finished work. What are we time-wise right now? It's 12 past 11 in the morning. So I start my day as I start work at 4:30 a.m. We go on air with our show at 6 a.m., finish on air at 10 a.m. Then usually we'll have meetings and shit after that. But today it was race home and do this. So
that's
rough. I'll go and get some lunch at some point.
I've seen 4:30 from the other side more recently than I've seen 4:30 from the start side.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like if you have a holiday, we go on holiday and you end up staying up later and later and later and getting back into a normal life. And then you've got to go back to work and it's like, holy shit, that alarm goes off at 3:59 a.m. so that I can get to work on time. So, but it is what it is. I chose it. I like it. I'm happy.
It's a cool place to be. Nathan, why don't you roll us through the stats? Tell us what's going on.
All right. Like I just said, there were only 4 events this weekend that we tracked for stats purposes. That is 25 plus player, 5 plus round events. So I'm going to just blast through this because it's not that interesting. Although there's a little funny bit about our top faction that I think is the most amusing thing I've ever seen. Mostly because the overrep is outstanding.
Oh no.
So our GT winners for the weekend were Grey Knights, Sisters of Battle, and dang, lost myself in an Excel spreadsheet, Drukhari. The number 1 performing faction only had 2 players, which was Gene Stealer Colt. They had a 81.8% win rate.
Whoa!
One of them made a top 4. Both of them made the top 10 of their events.
Fuck yeah.
And because there were only 2 of them, I'm only saying this because it's funny. They had an 8.94 overrep.
You know what's gross?
Yeah.
That is only 1 overrep number higher than Light was when it was like a real player count.
There was that brief shining moment where Light hit we were briefly wondering if it was going to hit 10. And
it was 7.8. I remember it distinctly because I was like, Jesus, when it happened.
Yes, there was that brief moment with Light. And that was also kind of the win rate that Light also toyed with very briefly. They never quite breached 80%.
No, they got real fucking close, though.
They got real close, though, and in numbers, which is way funnier. The actual top performing faction of the weekend was Grey Knights, though. 13 players, 4.5% of the meta, and a 66.2% win rate. 2 event wins, 3 top 4s, 6 top 10s, and a 4.13 overrep.
Whoa.
Guys, are Dreadnoughts good?
That's a big number, dude.
Is that just Land Raider Redeemers and Dreadnoughts probably all over again repeatedly?
I think it's the new German tech.
The Scottish one was just the standard MSU Terminators plus 3 or 4 Dreadnoughts. Nothing too crazy from Ryan.
That German list cranks.
Yeah, the 6 NDKs plus Canis.
Yeah, that list is hot. It's like, what if Armigers were good?
That's fair. We are being asked in the chat, what does overrep mean? Very basically, it's the ratio between your player count, percentage value, and the numbers you put into top fours. So if you are 10% of the meta and you make up 10% of the top fours, you have a 1.0 overrep. If you were 10% of the meta and you have 20%, you'd have a 2.0 overrep. So it's how many times more represented you are in top fours than you are in the overall player base.
Yep. And then Necrons were the second best performing faction of the weekend at 10.8% of the meta. 31 players, a 55.8% win rate, 2 top 4s, 5 top 10s, and a 1.15. I'm sure Necron players will continue to tell me that they are perfectly balanced on any weekend where Josh Roberts doesn't play and win events. Custodes were the third best faction of the weekend at 4.9% of the meta, a 54.9% win rate, 2 top 4s, 2 top 10s, and a 2.55. So doing just fine. And then this is really weird, but Space Marines are the fourth best faction of the weekend with 49 players. Oh, I see what I did. This is all the Space Marine factions all put together. 17% of the win of 17.1% of the meta because I jammed all the Space Marine factions together. And when they jam them all together, they have a 51.9% win rate.
Balanced army. Leave them as they are. Don't nerf
3
them,
top
please.
4s, 7 top 10s, and a 1.09 overrep. So there's obviously nothing wrong under the hood. We shouldn't care about sub-factions or anybody using the Ultramarines or any pure codex detachments whatsoever, and just ignore the fact that Blood Angels and Black Templar have all the win rate. We should just ignore
Sub-factions aren't real, bro. You can't prove that.
It's true. And then our fifth best faction of the weekend is Sisters of Battle. 10 players, so just barely making the cut of the number of players that we typically count on a week-to-week basis. 3.5% of the meta. A 51.6% win rate. They won an event. They top 4'd. That was their top 4 for the week. And then they had 2 top 10s, which was a 1.79 for overrep. Sisters probably just like an at the edge of the world problem who don't have the player base to make themselves a real problem is what it looks like at this point. And then at the very bottom, we have Imperial Knights, who had only 8 players, so they only made up 2.8% of the meta, but they had a 35.2% win rate. Adeptus Mechanicus only had 4 players and a 36.4% win rate. Orcs were the first faction above 10 players with 16 and a 5.6% meta representation with a 41% win rate. World Leaders had the same win rate as them and slightly less players. And then Tyranids, 10 players, a 41.8%. And then Leagues of Votann at a 6 players, 2.1%, and a 42.4% win rate. And that kind of rounds out the bottom of the meta.
Why do Knights suck so hard? We need more buffs for Knights. That's what we need.
Knights can just go literally back to the release of 10th, and I think they would be fine.
Do you know what the latest updates though? The already buffs that Knights got. I thought because there were a bunch of us struggling along with Knights. And then suddenly they get this buff and things went okay for a while. And look, I feel like they're in a reasonable spot. I'm always surprised when I see how much they suck statistically. I can't quite figure out.
There's definitely a decent chunk of a lot of vehicle hate in the meta right now between Ironstorm, Nemesis Dreadnoughts, all those kinds of general lists, even Chaos Knights are still reasonably. There's a lot of people who are just kind of incidentally quite good into vehicle killing that I think doesn't help them.
If you want to be able to kill a Catan, you can kill several big knights at the same activation.
That's right. If you can kill a Catan, you can do all right against Knights.
Yeah.
GSC is an interesting one though, right? Statistically, and it's the same over here. We just don't have a lot of people playing the faction, but I'm not sure why. I guess it's model-wise, paint-wise, hobby-wise, a tricky army to get into. It's super janky, hard to get your head around probably too. So maybe there's a high bar for getting in.
It's partly that. I think there's also a little bit of is it there's a high bar to doing it and it's not really worth it, where they're not so much better than any other options that they're worth putting the effort into, making yourself really good at them, when you could just play a more normal faction that's cheaper, easier to play, doesn't require you to be really tired going into game 5. Where if they were really broken like they were kind of start of the edition, then you get a lot of people overcoming that because it's worth it. But when there's less there, it's only really the faction diehards, which is why you see 2 players, but they're having the best time.
Yeah.
And then because I know people are going to ask, I did bust out the Space Marine factions real quick so we can just hear what those win rates are. Black Templars had 8 players and a 62.5% win rate over the weekend. Space Wolves had 10 players and a 57.4% win rate over the weekend. And then Blood Angels had 9 players and a 53.2% win rate over the weekend, with the Space Marines book without them dropping down to a 50% win rate without them being inserted.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah. It's not like terrible. There's a couple other Space Marine factions that are around here from that weekend as well that I just don't feel like sorting into it at the moment. But also, it's not that bad. A 50% win rate's not bad. But it also, there's that 62.5 from Black Templars, and
Yeah, that part's sketchy.
The 57 from Space Wolves, who are probably just all Stormlance detachments, all people trying to put people in wolf jail repeatedly forever.
Oh, man.
So we assume that Space Wolves, Blood Angels are all running, or almost all going to be running Stormlance, or are Blood Angels in the Vanguard.
Blood Angels are running Sons of Sanguinius pretty much exclusively, I think, at this point to success. There's some people running Gladius as well.
Gladius is pretty good too.
Yeah. Everybody kind of went with the other stuff, and a lot of people went back to Gladius, right? When it,
yeah, there's definitely been like swings and roundabouts with those boys.
The detachment is really good. I don't know if anybody's played Gladius recently, but it does just have every role in the game.
It Warhammers real hard. Like it, yeah. John's like favorite list to test stuff with, like when like Art of War like gets a new book and they're like, let's see if this is shit, is like an Ultramarine Gladius, which is the most like poster boy shit of all time, but it's like it's real. Like that list like is the Warhammer 40,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
I love that. That's the great baseline. That is just the most.
It's
Warhammer
the most Warhammer.
thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. It's got Marnius in it. It's exciting shit.
I guess the only thing I would miss is Gladius doesn't have fight on death, do they?
That's it does.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Never mind. There's no reason to go with Sons of Sanguinius unless you're just running a bunch of chainsword boys and really want to wound everything on 3s.
I mean, no, Sons is also very good, but like what they're doing is different. Gladius has a lot more like, I'm gonna kick flip and jump, dive, roll, slip, weave, do exactly the same thing as Sons in the end, but spend 6 CP to do it. So, you know, there's that, which is pretty cool. If you like making an ungodly eradicator or aggressor unit, write that shit down. You get to do that as long as you are perfect with CP management and never make a mistake. You can also run back into your Land Raider, and that shit is toxic. That's not cool at all. No one likes when that happens to them. I don't know.
I'm starting to see why the Art of War guys like this list.
Yeah, it does a bunch of cool stuff, but it also does a bunch of wacky nonsense. If you would like a low wacky nonsense version of Gladius, play Jack's Templar stuff. That's just like world leaders in black armor.
Love it.
Sword Brethren are a very good data sheet.
It's all right.
I mean, defensively, nothing. But man, when they hit you, it sucks.
Defensively, still just a 3-wound dude with AOC. I don't like trying to kill those things.
I've never seen a unit die faster in the open against like a gun line. I was like, oh, these will take a minute to kill, and I'm like, oh no, they did not.
Oh, yeah, they're just chosen. Like
it was very serious. Funny. Yeah.
What does the Sword Brethren datasheet really look like when you're?
Oh, it's a war crime. It's a war crime at the points it costs. It's so stupid. They have a +1 damage to the unit buff that applies to the character leading them. It's the dumbest shit of all time.
Is that only when they charge?
No, just start of the fight phase. Bam, buff.
+1 damage. Awesome, I love it.
Yeah,
and if you don't need that, you can get reroll 1s to hit or +1 attack. I think it is.
Yeah. If you just happen to be against a horde and decide fuck those dudes in particular.
And we assume the Space Wolves guys are all running Vanguard detachment and characters.
I assume it's mostly Stormlance.
No, sorry, Stormlance. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
I get my detachments muddled up.
Yeah,
I really wanted to do that, but I hate Thunderwolf cavalry so much.
I'm with you, Steve. I'm with you. Those models suck.
Yeah.
Well, the models are okay, but every goddamn time I try to play them, I just can't. In my brain, I can't get them to work. They've got big asses. You can't get them. You've got to run them all the way around. I know other people are doing well with them, but every time I've tried to put them in a list, they get targeted and die immediately. They're supposed to be tough.
They're tough.
They look tough.
Asterisk,
but they just go gone.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a story about from my recent Adepticon experiences in Thunderwolf Cavalry.
Did you get wolf jailed, Nathan?
Sometimes your opponent with Thunderwolves just rolls 4-ups And my opponent rolled 18 out of 19 4-up and vulnerable saves across a turn and a half. And I watched Logan Grimnir absorb 2.5 combats from the Avatar of Cain and take 5 damage. And then he killed the Avatar of Cain. And I was like, damn it.
Right out.
That's average, actually.
That's straight out of the lore, baby.
Like, I watched.
Nathan's like, damn it, I'm going furniture shopping. Fuck this, I'm out.
Basically, I watched that happen in the first turn. The first turn when we like went forward to attack, and they made like every single one except one save, and they lost a Thunderwolf, and I was like, neat. I can see how this is about to go. And then there were 22 Space Wolf Thunderwolf cavalry like in my face, and I was like, not coming out of this.
I want to get an overlay that lets me put like wolf jail over one individual person's thing. Like I just
whoa,
just bars, but they're all made out of wolves. Like
yeah. Inside you, there are 2 wolves.
I think what happens is you just put 24 Space Wolves, and some of them can go 19 inches with an advance in the stratagem and the Stormlance detachment.
Yep.
And then charge. And then your opponent either can or can't break wolf jail. And then if they can't, you kill them. And then sometimes your opponent is going to force you to make 4-up and vulnerable saves, and you won't make any. And you'll just lose 22 Space Wolves.
Yep. As we all know, Nathan is too broke to afford wolf bail.
That's right.
It is true. That's what academic science positions will do to you, is that you can never afford any bail of any kind whatsoever.
That's right.
Yeah, you'll get your check in the wolf mail.
God damn it, Innes. Innes, you're not even a dad. You can't make this many dad jokes. I expect this from Steve.
Yeah, thank you. I've got dad jokes for years.
All right, let's transition out of wolf jail into, I don't know.
Steve.
Into Steve, yes.
Steve, tell us all about the wonderful thing that you are bringing to StatCheck.
So, thank you, Innes, for the opportunity and the very well-phrased question. I am interviewing amazing people for a podcast called Champions of 40K, and that means not necessarily just people who are amazing players, but people who champion any part of the hobby. So it could be painting or, a specific faction or a part of the world or a thing, I don't know, or just that they're champion people, they're just great people and they're part of the hobby. It's amazing, actually, how many people you meet in this community, in this game, who are just freaking awesome people. And so I had a podcast ages ago where I started doing this, and this was the whole thing where I like chatting to people, like meeting people, like getting to know them. And then it went on a little hiatus for mostly health reasons, but also I had a big trip to Europe. Unlike Anthony, I only go to Europe once every couple of years, because when you go from New Zealand to Europe, it's 30 hours to get there. And I think it cost my family, because my wife is French, so we went over to France. It cost my family 20-something thousand New Zealand dollars to get everybody there and back, just for the tickets, just for the flights. Yeah, so that's like mortgage the house material, right?
I just took psychic damage from that amount of money.
So anyway, the point is that we went on a bit of a hiatus, and I had to recover financially and physically and mentally. And but I really missed doing the podcast. There was also a little bit of a breakup of the Frontline Gaming Network, which is where it used to be hosted. And in the meantime, getting to know you guys, and that'd sort of be a nice fit, something different on the StatCheck network, and the fact that you guys have been building a network. It like started out as StatCheck, but other shows are being added. It just kind of fits nicely in there. And so Champions of 40K, slightly different format. If people have ever heard previous series, there's a slightly different format to it now, where I tell a little story at the beginning and work my way into the interview. And starting with a chap named Anthony Vanella, who we recorded an episode a couple of days ago. I really like, we're getting a bit more personal with the stories, and then getting into the 40K side of it as you go through the chat. So it's really about getting to know people that you've probably heard of because you've heard of them at events, or because they're well-known painters, or they're content creators or whatever, but just getting to know them kind of outside the hobby, and then getting their thoughts on on the specific part of the hobby that they champion also. Like with Anthony, we talked quite a bit about, the aggressive play style that he champions. So we kind of get to know the man and then get to know a bit more about that aggressive play style if that's the kind of thing you're into. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm just having fun writing and recording them. I hated editing. That was the thing I hated the most. So I'm doing less of that and just uploading the stuff that we record. So that's the show in a nutshell. We've done 2. This is me still talking. Sorry, stick with me. I'm nearly there.
We ramble
I've
forever,
uploaded.
dude.
People are
I've
enjoying the
uploaded 2
ASMR. Keep it up.
Thank you. I've uploaded the 2 episodes, but those 2 are both episodes that were previously recorded that kind of just fell by the wayside when the show went away for a bit. So the ep that went live yesterday is Seth the Mad Doc Oster, who's a super nice man, and I recorded with him like 9 months ago, or just before 10th dropped. And so a lot of the stuff that we talked about was out of date. So I kind of did a bit of an update, then tried to edit it all together. And so that's just been uploaded. Fun chat. But from here on in, and they'll drop every fortnight, from here on in, it's all fresh, all new stuff, all getting to know people, and slightly longer episodes and a lot more personal. Yeah, so that's it.
Awesome. And then we asked our Discord to ask you questions. So you're going to get some questions because I know this is, and they are very random and very, very random topics.
Do you know, one of the things in my job, one of the things I do every now and then, we go out to schools and we do like careers days, or just we talk to kids for the radio. I don't imagine the questions will be as random as that. Maybe they will. Maybe
maybe this one will surprise you.
So the first question is going to be from a super chat from Ben McJurek, which is, Steve, since you won't be around for show questions, how do you like your eggs?
Wow. This is weird. Do you know what's weird is today we did this whole thing on my radio show about how to boil an egg. We got the one of New Zealand's most renowned chefs. He's like at the equivalent of a 3 Michelin star restaurant where he's the executive chef there.
Shit.
We got him on the radio to tell us how to boil an egg, for which he is way overqualified. But it just seemed like that would be
fantastic.
Funny. Yeah. So, how I like my eggs is actually fried. I fry my eggs sunny side up. I do the best fried eggs in the history of the universe, sunny side up, and put them on a little ham hollandaise and egg McMuffin and make myself a homemade eggs benny. Did I say egg McMuffin? I meant English muffin. English muffin. God damn it!
You go to Ronald McDonald to just take an egg McMuffin and put like your own eggs on it.
It only works if he pays the iron price. He has to steal the eggs McMuffin from the McDonald's and then bring it home and make it himself.
Yeah, I become the Hamburglar. Steal shit, bring it home and make it at home. Yeah,
I'll do it myself.
Yeah, I taught that clown everything he knows.
That's right. I say that about Ennis all the time.
Oh, it's true. The next question is from Logan in the Discord, which is, what does Steve think about the future of Warhammer content creation? How does that look for him in a hypothetical future, and what content would he like to see made that he doesn't have time or energy to create himself?
Wow. Logan, that is huge.
Damn, Logan, that was a good question.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's a multifaceted question as well.
Yep.
I'm going to go to the last part of it first. There's a show that I wanted to do that I would still love to do at some point that dives really deep into the minutia of gameplay. My whole thing with 40K is, I love all the aspects of collecting and the painting, but really I play and I'm a competitive dude, but I'm not good enough at Warhammer to satisfy my own levels of competitiveness, if you like. So I'm on this constant bent to try and get better at the game. So the content I like to consume is content that will help me competitively get better, stuff I can learn from. Battle reports I can watch and go, shit, that's a great idea. I never would have thought of doing that. Or list building ideas, all of that sort of stuff, So content-wise, I'd love to be more involved in the creation of that sort of content. And I'd love to see someone do a show where you really get into the minutiae of, say, just I don't know anything like deployment, but there are so many different ways of doing deployment depending on the mission and who you're playing against. So you could do whole episodes on just how to do it depending on what you're up against, or when to use certain stratagems like, rapid ingress, because people do dumb shit all the time, like doing those things at the wrong moment, or just thinking something's a great idea. I'm guilty of this. You think, oh, that'll be fun, I want to do tank shock, but it's a waste of time because you're going to kill the thing anyway. Why waste the CP, Nathan? So there's lots of stuff.
I feel called out in a way that I don't appreciate.
Where was that CP? It fell out of my pocket while I was furniture shopping. I don't know
It's
where
true. I used it to buy a couch. I wish. That was great.
Where are you that a couch is 1 CP? Nathan over here living in the 80s. I know Chicago's backwards. I didn't realize it was that far. Fuck.
In terms of
Go
sorry,
ahead, Steve, go.
In terms of the future of content creation, I think the future of content creation in our hobby is the same as it is everywhere else. I've been in radio and television for 30 something years. So, and podcasting's been on the verge of exploding for about 10 of those years. And it has, right? There's like literally a million different podcasts. And I think the way it'll work is the way it shook out when radio went unregulated in a whole lot of countries, which is you get this explosion of everybody going, I can do a show of my own, and everything kind of goes nuts. And then people either get bored with it, or the quality's not there, and they don't get the views or the listens or whatever. And then it kind of settles. And I think we're in the explosion phase of 40K content creation. I feel like every second person you meet at an event has a podcast of their own. And that's cool. Everybody trying it is great. But if you listen to them, you can hear pretty quickly, I think, which ones are going to last the distance, and maybe which ones are just, hey, I'm having a go at this in my garage, we'll see what happens. So yeah, look, I think it'll shake out that we'll get much less content, but the content we have will be better. I know that's like a really safe prediction, because that probably applies to pretty much everything, but yeah, that's where I think it's headed at the moment. We're still in the explosion phase.
Fair.
And then Sam has 3 questions. Sam Lemon from our Discord.
Yeah, he does.
So I was going to say Sam needs to pay extra, but it's Sam Lemon, so he's all right.
He's all right. Yeah, we like that guy.
Oh, there we go. We do like that guy. His first question is, can we see some of your Drukhari models that you're currently painting, and maybe an idea of what this new army may look like in the future?
Yes, well, at the moment it's orange. In the future it could be green. I don't know,
Might be red.
Sam. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't know. Yes, I'll post. I've already have, like, if people want to follow on Instagram, I've got the very pretentious Insta handle of the Steve Joll, just because it seemed like a great idea at the time.
Yep.
So people can follow on Insta and see lots of different photos of my green Drazar, which I now have to match with the orange Ikibai that I'm making.
It's going to look like the Green Goblin. It'll be great. Pumpkin bombs.
It's got a real Green Goblin vibe to it. I've gone with that green, that kind of emerald
Hell
green.
yeah.
Give him like some 3D printed pumpkin bombs, and you'll fit right in with the orange.
Oh my god, that's so good. Actually, yes, great idea. Pumpkin bombs.
Or give the Incubi pumpkin heads, and they can be his pumpkin bombs.
Well, you're just being silly now. That's
where we draw the line. That's
come on, man.
We can't lean,
Steve.
we can't lean too far into the theme, Nathan. The second question is, as someone who talks on radio for a living, what are some of your top tips or tricks to connecting with an audience and telling a compelling story?
Wow, this actually comes up a lot. I do coaching of other radio people, and have in the past done coaching a podcast. So listen, the big thing that I would say to people, the number one thing is distractions take people away from the thing you're trying to communicate, whatever that might be. So if you are communicating on a podcast, things that distract from the story you're trying to tell or the message you're trying to get across always take people away from it, and then they miss what you're trying to say, or they go away and they don't come back, whatever that might be. And the main distraction that podcast people have going against them is audio quality sucks. So if you can get the audio quality right, if you can get the mics right, if you can sound okay and not be, if people aren't distracted by the fact that one guy's super loud and someone else is hard to hear, then
As Anthony disappears.
When Anthony and I did his episode, for example, we had enormous trouble with his pickles.
Yeah,
so
true.
that was problematic.
That's praise.
Pickles is the name of his cat for new people.
Oh, yeah.
So, but no. So my main point is, in terms of telling a telling a story, honestly, the biggest thing is when you're on a podcast or doing any kind of communicating professionally on radio, whatever it is, you should always communicate as if there's one person. You're talking to one person on the other side of that microphone, the other side of that screen, whatever it is. So when you're communicating a story, you tell a story to that person like you would if you were sitting next to them at a bar. Hey, you won't believe what just happened to me. Oh my God. Get excited about the story you're telling and then lay it out there for them and build it up to its natural conclusion. People too often either try to be too clever or they get bored with their own story halfway through, which is like, why would you be telling this if it's a shit story? Like if you're not even interested, you can't expect the other person listening to be interested. So those would be my two big things I think that people get wrong is don't try and communicate with everybody. Pick one person, figure out who your audience is and just communicate with them and try and get a setup where your mic is not too stupidly bad that people are going to just go away because of that. I'm doing long answers to short questions. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's
great.
great.
I think this is what people want, Steve. I think you're okay. People came to the show. People asked these questions to hear from you. I think they're going to be okay hearing from you.
They came in going, I want stats. Where are the fucking stats? Who's this guy?
I think the stats are the distraction for the stat check. Like, really, it's a show about meandering about Warhammer that happens to have stats in it as a distraction. Like, really, that's the...
I would love to see the amount of people that just, like, stop listening after Nathan finishes the stats. Nathan's like, and that's the stats for the week, and we just like lose half our viewer base.
YouTube Studio tells me how much people watch of each episode, essentially. It doesn't tell me exactly where they cut off, but we usually are around like 24 to 25% watch.
That's right around when the stats finish. Yeah,
it's true. The third question from Sam is, a while ago on a Can Hammer podcast, I didn't know Can Hammer was still making podcasts, you talked about regretting selling armies and how you wish you hadn't let them go. Nids and Black Templars are the examples he gives. As although the army playstyle didn't resonate, you still wish you had them. My question is, have you stuck to your word about not selling armies, and what do the other hosts think about selling your armies?
Selling Steve's armies?
Yeah, selling Steve's armies. We're going to talk about selling Steve's armies. I think, having seen Steve's armies on Instagram, that if he sold
them,
it was a mistake because they are beautiful. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, Steve, your painting skills are quite good.
To be fair, it wasn't a play style thing with Nids. It was a play style thing with Tau. I couldn't get my head around Tau. I tried Tau.
Yeah.
I just couldn't make it work because I like to. I mean, my main thing with playing Warhammer is I like the charge phase and the hit you in the face with the hammer part of the game, and playing 3 Riptides, that wasn't how that went. So that was the only play style. In terms of Nids and Necrons, the issue I had was overdoing the painting complexity with the big models and then looking at the many, many, many small models that you need for a Nids army and going, no, full sale. You can't do it. So, and yes, 100%. I regret selling the Nids army. If there was one army that I could that I would want to get back again, it would be that one. But I'm doing Drukhari for the second time. I've been through Black Templars twice and sold them. The only armies that I've kept are my Wolves and my Knights, and now I'm into Drukhari for the second time. I've done Necrons twice and sold them both times. So I paint a small amount of an army and then just sell it. That's what I do.
Yeah, and then you go, never mind, fuck this.
Yeah, exactly. So because I make the mistake, I talked to, weirdly, the first episode, talked to Stig from Tabletop Tactics, who had some great advice. When he was getting into an army, he painted he said, look, you've got to love the troops. Paint the troops first. Do the troops. Like if you can get into the troops and you enjoy painting those, then the big models become easy. If you do it the other way around, it's a freaking nightmare, which is the mistake I keep making. I paint something huge, love the scheme, and then look at 100 small models and go, I cannot face replicating this scheme on all of those little things.
I think I have 5 painted blood letters. Just like I can't do it. I can't face painted blood letters. Those models are just so terrible.
Yeah. It's all right if you go simple, right? It's all fine. Like just paint them red, dry brush over the top, blood letters done. But if you wanted to, if you decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to go cool and fancy, and then it's
always a mistake.
Harder. Yeah, always. Yeah.
Paint your models like Nassim. Spray them gold. Paint the leather. Done.
Or have someone else do it. That's worked great for me so far.
Yeah.
You just paint.
I just had a buddy of mine send me a message saying, "Can you give me a free plug for my painting service?" So I'm like,
do it.
Yes. Though the shipping might be a son of a bitch if he's in New Zealand.
He's in New Zealand, yeah. So the shipping will be a son of a bitch. The shipping is more that like it's. I bought some, your stat check objective markers, right? The neoprene thing.
Yeah.
So I got some made similar in the States, 40 New Zealand dollars for a set of 6, $45 for shipping.
Ah!
I mean, we can do what we did last year at WTC, and we can just like exchange
hand them off to Finn or something,
and we'll caravan them to you that way for some stat check.
Yeah.
The next question is from Grant. You already talked about why you joined us over other people. What are some simple / cheap ways to improve audio quality on recordings / podcasts?
Yeah, people ask me this a lot, and I'm really not the right person to ask. And I'll tell you why, because I do my show through my radio studio at work, which is just a fully professional setup. So, the number one thing is get a decent mic, right? And probably you guys are better to ask because you've all invested in gear to get this thing sounding good. So I would think the number one thing is get yourself a decent mic, and that's the starting point. And probably for podcasting, that's almost all you need.
Yep. I mean, we set aside like $100-ish per person on our network essentially to give them all microphones.
Yeah.
And that was kind of where we started, is we got everybody like high quality, relatively entry level microphones, because you can go crazy with podcast technology. You can get all sorts of stuff that you probably don't need unless you're trying to set up a professional radio studio or something like that. And instead we kind of leaned into what can we get that's functional, not going to be ridiculously expensive, but will also just drastically increase us over using your AirPods to record an episode of a show kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you just have to do. And then sometimes you just, if you can, finding a quiet space is always ideal. There's like tons of little things you can do. We're probably not the greatest example because like the most that we've invested in it is improving everybody's webcams to be good, and then improving everybody's microphones to be at least podcast quality,
right?
The kind of things. And you there's no like cheap way to improve everything. You're gonna have to spend some money to improve your audio quality.
That's right. Just wait till we get the flags sorted. We'll have flags in the backdrops. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, we have merch coming soon, and one of those things is flags, and we're gonna see if we put all those up because people keep complaining that our apartments aren't nice or something like that. I don't know, man.
I was just talking about distractions, particularly Anthony's cat, but my cat has just jumped up onto the top of a thing where he's pushing buttons that he shouldn't be pushing. So I'm wondering if he can get down from there, or if I should just, play the game, see what happens.
Yeah, let him find out.
Sometimes
if Steve's audio quality drastically changes in the next couple of minutes, there's reasons.
Yeah, we know what happened.
My background becomes fire, and you're like, "That's a cool effect."
Yeah. Wow, weird.
Man,
so
Steve, you're really acting with this like background you've created. It's very man, that's some intensity.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
Kriegerbot Chaz has a question, which is, what lessons can be learned from rugby in Warhammer, especially with regards to teams?
Well, I suck at both. So there's something there, maybe. I made the second 15 of my high school rugby team. So yeah, that was. So I don't know. Maybe the lesson is if you're good at one, you can be good at the other, and the same applies in reverse.
Violence seems to help in both.
Yeah, if you hit
Yeah.
people, they stay down in both.
Yeah. I think you're drawing a long bow if you try and make any correlation between rugby teams events and Warhammer teams events. The pairings process for a start, it's not like you can go, okay, we're going to get your team of 15 and your team of 15, and we're just going to pair you up, and you just have to beat the shit out of that guy. Just
Dude, that would
tackle
be so
and try and
valuable in
run
rugby.
past that guy. And whoever does that the best out of 15 playoffs wins the game. No, I honestly don't know. Yeah.
But we do have our new rugby boxing 40k format.
Yeah. Maybe between rugby and
then-
Blood Bowl, if you were playing that, would
Yeah,
be
there you
the closest.
And then Pizza Bagels, also known as Tommy, says, "What are your thoughts on the winner of New Zealand's Bird of the Century contest, the Puteki Teki?"
Don't even start me on that shit, man.
I literally went on Facebook and I was like, I know who I can make mad today, and
Yeah.
posted a link to John Oliver's Puteki Teki thing for Bird of the Century.
Yeah.
Because I also had seen on your website for your radio show that you were sponsoring a bird and like making
Yeah.
videos about it
Yeah.
for your show. And I listened to it and I was like, I know how to make Steve Joll mad today on the internet.
And guess who was winning? Like, out of all the birds, guess which bird was winning? Our freaking bird, the bird that we were championing, was winning New Zealand's Bird of the Year contest. And then John Oliver went and did his stupid video, and that went nuts. And so people like, there's no geo blocking on the voting. So people they put up, for people who want to know, John Oliver, his show put up massive billboards in Japan and Brazil and India and London and New York to vote for this one particular bird. And on his show, and he went on to other late night shows in the States championing this bird. So I don't know the actual numbers, but it was something like he was number one with 1.5 million votes, and our bird was number two with 3,500 votes. Like that was the difference of.
Well, at least it was close.
I think my favorite line from him, though, was like, this is definitely a very American way to go about like interfering with other people's election processes.
That's right. That's right. Come and screw with our elections. Just throw money at it and mess us up. Yeah. No, it was fun. It's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It got a lot of attention here in New Zealand, which automatically the whole point is to raise awareness and money for endangered native bird species in New Zealand, which is an issue. And it did the job. So, yeah.
Sorry,
yeah, Pizza Bagels. I think that's 20-0 and Diff. Yes, you're 100% right. That was a 20-0.
I will say, I hope that brought a lot of money into New Zealand, because John Oliver also apparently mailed the giant Puteki Teki to New Zealand or something like that. Like sent it to New Zealand.
Yeah.
He
has this thing with my country, which he picks on us in his show quite a lot. A few years ago, there was a campaign by our then Prime Minister to change the flag, because our flag is just the Union Jack in one corner and then the Southern Cross. It's very similar to the Australian flag, but slightly classier. And
like all things Kiwi, just slightly.
I was going to say, which applies to almost everything over here. Very similar to Australia, but classier. I wonder if that's going to get any reaction. So
we'll clip it.
But we wanted to change the flag. People wanted to change the flag. And one of the suggestions, which got a lot of publicity, was a Kiwi bird with laser eyes, I think shooting a kiwi fruit with its laser eyes. And
I love it.
So people were like, let's have this. And John Oliver went on his show and was like, please God, this has to be the new flag of New Zealand.
Oh my God, that would have been the greatest.
Yeah.
I would have immigrated immediately. I would have ignored all restrictions. I would have been like,
I don't know if I could, but
yeah, there it is. Yeah, you can
holy shit, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is that we decided to share that on a phone through
the details. I didn't want to make the clicky clacky keyboard noises.
Cat.
There we go. Cat is fine and safe. She managed to get down.
Nice.
Good.
Kept pressing up buttons that she got onto the show. Like, that's impressive.
The next question, and I think
How
the
many
last
questions
question,
are there? I was going to be like,
this is the last one, actually.
I mean, I'm loving
Isn't
it. Don't get me wrong. I'm loving it, but I'm surprised that people have any interest in what I have to say.
Steve, people love you in Warhammer. Everybody, every time you mention the name, it's the most popular thing. You're the most popular thing in Warhammer, I think, at this point. It's like you, then Art of War. Like, it's just, that's how it is.
Yeah.
And this one is from Goran or Red Rum, which is, what is one 40K person you badly want to interview besides Anthony?
Right.
I don't
Aaron
write
Dembski Bowden.
questions. Ooh, that's a good one.
Good
I like
answer.
that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. I know people are expecting Henry Cavill, but Aaron Dembski Bowden is, I love his work. Like, I'll be honest and say, I don't read a lot of 40K fiction. I read a lot, but I don't read a lot of 40K fiction because I just get a bit. Yeah, I find a lot of it's not as well constructed as I would like. But Aaron Dembski Bowden does it perfectly.
Yeah, that guy writes the shit out of a 40K book.
Oh yeah, and he almost never does a dud. He's an expert at getting you scale, like writing from the point of view of a normal sized whatever, guard, infantryman,
Human.
whatever, just a human scale person, and then from their point of view, getting that Space Marine size. Whereas if you're writing from Space Marine point of view, then they're all just normal size. So I find his ability to get that amazing. So I'd love to talk to him. He would be fantastic. And I have reached out a couple of times, but he's not big on the whole doing an interview thing.
Fair.
Yeah. I did get to talk to the man that made the game though. So that was cool. Rick.
Nice.
In the first season of the episode of the series. So he was amazing talking about the origins of 40K and how, the early models and the early rules and why he got away from GW in the end and all of that.
Now I have to go back and listen to the first season apparently, because I was like, I don't remember that as well as I thought I did. Yeah,
it's hard to find the first season because I'm an idiot and I've upset things with hosting in different locations, but it's definitely worth it if you can. He says for the guests are worth listening to.
We understand. We do.
Sure.
And that is the last question, Steve. So do you have a message or anything you would like to say before we send you off into the great ether?
Only that I'm really grateful to you guys for being patient with me and giving the podcast another life, breathing another bit of life into it and hosting it on your network. So I appreciate that. And also that I just love hearing from people. If you've got feedback, good or bad, or you've got suggestions for guests. I've had a few people throw guests my way, which is always awesome. But listen, just get in touch. There's a Champions of 40K Facebook page, which is probably the easiest way. Or as I said, Insta is the Steve Joll. Hit me up. I genuinely am always surprised that anyone listens or that anyone takes an interest. And if you're enjoying it or not, if you've got suggestions on ways to make it better, then I'm always down for hearing from people. So get in touch. I'd love to hear from you.
Steve also does have a channel, which is Champions of 40K in our Patreon Discord. So if you're in there, you can fire Steve a message directly, tag him, harass him, do whatever you want. Basically, get in his messages like you would do Nathan's. He's more than happy.
And the way to get into the Discord is to become a Patreon, right?
It is, yeah. We'll do all the plugs later. We're going to hold off on doing that until we've had a bit more of a chat about the game because we've got to argue a little more. Nathan, go for it.
One more question. Which was, can Steve do all the plugs from now on?
No, it can't be done. It's double out. Steve would do it too well. The point is that it's terrible.
I could put on the proper radio voice thing and do the ladies and gentlemen, StatCheck would like to thank the following supporters. And go full noise.
That was
congratulations. You've now volunteered to record something for us.
You fool.
Did you all know Steve's good at his job?
Yeah.
I know. I was gonna say, Steve, really you're just slumming it with us. Let's be honest here. You came to a network of StatCheck and we're like, what if I brought my amazing show content and put it on your network? And you're like, that would be great.
Wow, that's very, very generous and very kind of you to say, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
We technically had a discussion about whether it was a good idea or not, but we really didn't. It was like Steve went to the we were like, yeah, okay, yes, obviously.
It was definitely a, like, I need to ask people, but I'm pretty sure I know what their answer is going to be.
I mean, StatCheck is big on the yes and method of doing content, right? So
Right. Yeah. Yes, and I like that. All right, chaps. Well, I'm going to leave you to the rest of your important conversation, and I'm going to go and have some lunch. Thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it.
yeah. And if you do end up having eggs, take pictures. Like we need to see them in the Discord. So
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Well, sure.
only if it's eggs. Anything else, we're not bothered. But eggs, we must know.
Eggs. Okay. All right. I got it. Next time there's eggs, there will be pictures.
Excellent.
What about
the
egg-colored Drukari?
Ooh, all
White and orange.
It's like heads are the orange yolk, and then the armor is all the white.
Yeah.
You could do it.
All right. I'm repainting
Be
everything.
strong.
Starting now.
Start over.
Bye, team. Thanks very much.
Take care, Steve. Thank you so much.
Bye.
He's living that dark Egdar life.
I was gonna say that sounds like an excellent idea. I don't know.
Okay.
Ines, why don't you do the plugs? Maximally stuff.
Because it hurts me every time. Every time it hurts me. We just had Steve on doing such a wonderful piece of promo there.
And now for the rest of the plugs.
Now for Ines doing the plugs. This is why you have to have one normal
You know.
person. Every Olympian during an Olympic event, you need the normal person recording next to it to tell people how good or bad they would be at something compared to an Olympic athlete.
So Ennis is now taking some time to pray to his god. He's going to do the plugs. It's going to be sweet.
Thank you, everybody, for being with us so far for episode 85 of StatCheck Champions of 40 Kiwi. We're going to be continuing on with a bit of meta discussion and also the general show questions after having Steve on for the first hour of the show. So do stick around for the remainder after these messages. First of all, please do check out Patreon, patreon.com/StatCheck, where for $5 a month you can get access to our wonderful, wonderful community where you can ask questions of Steve or us, or communicate with Nas and bully him, or do any of the other myriad things that we've discussed on the show. If that interests you and you're in a position to do so, that's patreon.com/StatCheck. If you're not, the other ways you can support the show is by checking us out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the other places where you can find our content. If you can chuck us a like, a comment, subscription, review, any of the good things like that, it really does help us out with discoverability and getting to bring more of the stuff that you guys seem to be enjoying between ourselves, Take All Commerce, Enter the Matrix, now Champions of 40K, and XM1 when it returns from hiatus. All those shows can also be found on all those places. Do check them out. I believe this is an Enter the Matrix week, so we should be seeing that coming out in the next day or two, covering the Alpine Cup, which is the event that we're going to be going to this Friday. Anthony has disappeared on me because I assume he can't handle it. Take All Commerce just did a show this Saturday gone about their recent trip to the Pecking Order GT, I want to say, but don't quote me on that one. And then Champions of 40K just released its episode with Seth from Signals from the Frontline, who you should also check out, by the way. They've recently moved away from Frontline Gaming and are now hosting their own content on YouTube. Go check them out. They're doing great things in the space of 40K coverage. As far as our sponsors, StatCheck is brought to you by Red Dragon, who provides a 20% off discount code for all of our patrons. If you're interested in getting any of your hobby stuff, any of your hobby supplies, whether that's models, paints, board games, anything like that, check out red-dragon.ca. Our other sponsors are Wayland Yutani, who provide the terrain for the WTC. If you're interested in getting any of that sort of stuff, whether it's GW terrain, WTC terrain, in the flat pack foam style, you can check out Wayland-Yutani, and then you can use StatCheck 5% off on your checkout. Lastly, you can check out Saltar Games on Etsy. Saltar Games do all of our tokens and widgets and all that good stuff. Your measuring gauges, all that like. Check out them on Etsy. It's just Saltar Games on Etsy. I believe code Saltar15 gets you 15% off. Two more things to plug. One more thing to plug. If you're interested in getting help from either myself, Typhus, or Jeremy, please do check out stat-check.com/coaching, which one day I'll be able to do fast, but just cannot. If you're interested in getting help from ourselves on either improving as a 40K player, working towards your next tournament, or just getting a list that you want to get some work on playing a little bit better, do check us out. We have all the prices on the website. That's stat-check.com/coaching. Or if you're interested in getting something a little more personal, drop us an email at coaching@stat-check.com, and we will be more than happy to take any questions about that anytime. I think that's all I have to do on the plugs. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. If I forgot something, someone will beat me up later. That's it. Say hi to Pickles. Pickles is wonderful and vanished. Where's Pickles gone, Anthony? Have you eaten Pickles? Is that what you're doing right now? Hi, Pickles.
I guess since Adam Camilleri is in our chat asking for stats, I can show you guys something that's in the works real quick that we're doing with our ELO
Go for
ranking
it.
system.
All
I'm
yours. The
gonna
floor
do
is open. The plugs are done. I can retire this scuff bit of paper for another week.
We're going to open up the share screen so that I can share this awesome image with all of you. And so this is our new thing, which is going to be us using ELO to filter our stats instead of just our GT participation numbers. So this is the 70th percentile and higher in ELO scores. So it's basically the 70th percentile through Josh Roberts, currently in our ELO ranking system. That's how I'm going to call it.
That's the ceiling
this,
right now is Josh
that's
Roberts.
The ceiling is Josh Roberts. I've also been working on a Glico system because people keep asking about multiple models, and Josh Roberts is also at the top of that ranking system.
Nice.
As an aside.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So yeah, this is something that will be coming to the stats dashboard soon. Cliff is putting it into place by using our ELO ranking system that we have been using in order to look at different predictive models and ranking systems for 40K. And so soon you'll be able to filter our data by ELO ranking. So that's something to look excited for. So if you look at the top groups, you can see that Necrons are still at the top with a 57%, and then Sisters, and then Adeptus Mechanicus, and then Tau. And then at the bottom, we have Death Watch at a 31%, and then Chaos Knights, Tyranids, Orcs, and Chaos Space Marines.
AdMac doing great with all of their player.
Yep. And then you can see this just very large 14 GT wins thing here for Necrons.
What was it we said? We didn't think any army would hit 50 again for the rest of the edition. Josh is giving it a good go.
Yeah,
he's
Josh
giving
was
it a
what,
good
6
go.
of those?
Yeah, it's quite funny.
Boom.
Yep. And then that is just
Alex Meta.
Yeah.
those are the previews that I will give you for the moment. So don't worry, everybody. Soon you'll be able to filter all of the wonderful dashboard stuff by ELO ranking, so you can get all of your filtration needs to see what top players are doing in the meta and how they're performing in the meta. And then sometime soon we'll put in some multi-model predictive stuff so you guys can look at multiple ranking systems and how they rank things and if they agree with one another. We're going to do some stats, I promise. There's going to be lots of stats. It'll be amazing.
Doing the stat stuff.
More stats, more shows. We'll even occasionally
Apparently.
check those stats.
I don't think I'll ever check those stats. I'm just going to...
That's probably true. That's Jeremy's job.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
this
just
is
saw
Jeremy's job.
that comment in chat about Pickles having a blow-up bed. So the story about that bed is actually much funnier. My little sister moved in, so the bed that was in this room went into another bedroom so she could have a real bed, but I didn't want Pickles to not have a bed, so we have an air mattress for Pickles.
I love that. What meta content do we want to talk about this week, though, is the actual question that we want to get into.
Dude, there's like books in the pipeline,
It's
right? In the future.
Ostensibly.
Yeah, data slate soon, books soon. There is no one on this planet more excited for the Custodes codex than me.
Really?
Yeah, because one of two things, theoretically, will happen. They will either get an AdMech codex, and that, perfectly acceptable. Or, maybe, they'll get an interesting codex, you know? If they do it by shield hosts, then perhaps Solar Watch comes back. It's actually interesting. It could be real life. But whatever it is, it won't be what we fucking have now, which is the most boring, awful design shit of all time.
I hope for your sake they just print Shadow Keepers and it's just got like a -1 to damage, always on fights first, and -1 attack when you're in combat with it. And it's just like the most evil anti-world eaters thing you can imagine. I hope that's all that's what they go with.
No.
I also hope it just has a stratagem for turning off fight on death or something like that. It's just like 1 CP, you can no longer fight on death or something.
Sure. Dude, I hope it's anything but what they have now. It can be worse as long as it's different. You know?
I genuinely don't think you could print anything that would make Custodes players not just play the 4-up Field of Pain. They are all addicted to not taking damage from grenade, I think.
I hope that when it comes out, it's just one of the two. I hope it's like either worse than AdMech or better than Necrons, but different. And either of those is fine with me.
Tangle for Grenade is back. Ugh.
Sure. Okay.
Technically, it's old night spinners.
Yeah, Innes, your mic is wacky.
I think you're just eating it a little bit. That's all. I turned down your microphone a little, but yeah.
Hopefully, that's a bit better now.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the uppy downy Custodes followed by the 1CP rope-a-dope stratagem. Custodes kill everything in engagement range and then go back into reserves.
Yeah.
I don't know. What?
Uppy downy Arieses. Let's go.
Uppy downy Aries.
Yes!
Yeah, why not?
Like that counts. That's okay. That would be worse than Necrons to play against, but it would be fucking hilarious, so it's fine.
It only works on aircraft, though, so only Arieses and Orions can go up and then back down again.
Sure,
Nothing
whatever.
else.
Uppy downy triple Caladius. That's the meta the Jack wants.
Oh, yeah, no, not like that. That's not what I wanted at all. That's not what I was asking for.
Trajan gets the Sanguinor ability. But with a squad.
Just the whole unit, rapid ingress.
The unit gets the rapid ingress into combat.
Yeah.
Oh, no. All right.
I didn't like that at all.
No, I didn't either. So all the Tau stuff is out. We talked about that, I guess, a couple episodes ago, though. So we want to
Tau is strong. We don't know what the points are. Woohoo! We'll see.
Cool. I love that. Deus Ex Trajan is what we just said.
What? Oh, Deus Ex
Trajan.
I thought you said Deus Ex Trajan, and I was like, what?
I think that's what Custodes players want to do, right?
That's true. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what that
no.
rapid ingress into combat rule is called. Deus Ex Trajan. You throw him into melee.
Yeah, Trajan's no longer an epic hero. You're just allowed 6 of him.
Ah!
It's battle line now.
Yeah.
Custodes can break the rule of 3 and bring 6 of anything that they want instead.
Yeah.
They get Emperor's Children ignore modifiers to the detachment roll.
Yo, don't. If that's in the CSM book, I'm gonna have trouble. I just have to hope that like the same slate around when the CSM codex comes out just buries world leaders, just makes them shit, like unusable even by me, and just puts them beneath the ground.
I mean, we can just play your review of the world leaders changes if you want, and it'll seem like they got buried.
Dude, it was so they should have been. According to everybody else, they're unusable garbage now, and everyone I play against, including Grisha and Gitzo, and everyone I played at Pyro, is bad. It seems unlikely, but it seems to be what the consensus is.
Look, man, until somebody else can replicate the results, I don't think it counts.
What do you mean? Tons of other people have won events with them now, besides me.
Why don't we talk about the slate then, and kind of what we want in it? Since supposedly there's supposed to be a slate in April.
I hope they just Office Space Catan. Like, just take them out back and ruin them like a bad printer. Just fuck their day up.
It makes me sad.
But Dreadnoughts as well. God, I hate that data sheet.
I like 3 of them are good. The Grandmaster one isn't that wild. Like, I don't think it's that crazy. I think they probably went a little like they overcorrected for sure, but like,
Plus,
Land
what he
Raider
did
Redeemers.
recover was maybe too much.
yeah, dude, for sure. But like, also, fucking whatever. I don't know. I haven't had to play against Grey Knights in a bit, so like my trauma level is low. So like maybe I'll play against them. I guess that army just shouldn't be good because it's just like a bag of gotchas and a 2-up.
Yep.
So like maybe it being good is generally not great for the scene.
Mr. Deimos is just not a fun stratagem to play around.
It's a mistake. It's a stupid thing that they shouldn't have done, and now it's here. It's a bit like spilling dev wounds, but it's still here.
Yeah, it's the go back into reserve bit. The move I get, whatever. The go back into reserve and then ingress immediately. I hate it so much.
Nah, just none of it. Just shouldn't be a thing. Stop moving in my fucking movement phase. It's not your movement phase. Enough.
that should be the Custodes army role. Stop it. No, you don't get to act in my turn other than for fight phase.
Yeah, you can roll in the fight phase and saves. What happened to that? Why was that so bad?
It's literally just going to be mono blue control from Magic the Gathering for the new Custodes
No.
section. You try to do anything in my turn, you just don't get to do it.
Yeah.
You don't get to do it anymore. You trade CP to counter stratagems the whole
Stop
game.
it. Get some help.
Yeah, that's its 2 stratagems.
Stop it and get some help are the 2 stratagems.
Yeah.
Get some demonstration. Stop it. Just whatever they were doing, they can't do it anymore.
Getting a drink, unlucky. Going to the bathroom, sucks to suck. Stop it.
Stop it. Sure, it costs 3 CP, but it's amazing.
All right. What do we do? What do Marines need? I'm going to start out of this because as a Marine player, heavy biases. But
look, all right, Marines. Listen, let's talk. So Marines are a confusing thing to me. I've played about 8-9 games of Blood Angels so far. I don't understand how that army ever loses. I don't know what series of rube fucking machine shit that lands in a loss for those guys. And maybe this is my world eater biased ass just being amazed by a ball flame storm cannon or whatever the guns are on the side of a Redemptor. And I'm just like, a kid at the zoo for the first time. I'm like, oh, look at all the things you can do in this brand new phase. But I don't know. The win rate is not great. They're not that high. I don't know how, but it's not that good. I think there's a lot of things like that in singles right now that every time I'm like, what? That doesn't make just any sense to me. Thousand Sons, besides last week, and I think this week they did pretty good, but before that, terrible. Dog shit. Nothing's changed. Still insane. Don't know why the win rate's that bad. But Marines. I don't know what you're supposed to do with Marines. Marines have some fundamentally unfair shit, in Scepters. Maybe just make those 300 points for 3, and you'll approach a unit that's balanced. But the rest of it, isn't that crazy? And you kind of have to play one of the Snowflake chapters if you want a functional melee unit, and that seems like a mistake. The Black Templar situation isn't great. There's definitely way too much free multi-melta going on there. Kind of in general. I don't know that the Gladiator Reaper datasheet needed a multi-melta stapled to the side of it. I think it probably does enough on rate that we could just let that go. Yeah, there's just a bunch of little mistakes there. Crusaders just make them 100 points. I know they're not worth it. Fucking whatever. Make them 100 points so I don't have to see them again. Why? The firing deck on the Rhino hurts so bad with them. Yeah, there's just a couple of little things. I don't think Marines are that far off. I certainly don't think they should get buffed, but that's really unfair to Timmy Space Marine just out there in the trap with his 48% win rate. But I really feel if you buff that army even just a little bit, we're right there on all of the top players adopting them because we all have them. And that's not going to be great for anyone. So I don't really know what to do with that.
I think you have to just every special character that isn't in in the codex that isn't Ultramarines, you're just gonna be hey man, here's 15 free rules to make your chapter an option now. You're just gonna be hey, Vulcan does your army gets a new rule on it.
I think they just have to. This is gonna be unpopular, but I think they have to just make it so the Snowflake chapters can only take Snowflake detachments, and that sucks. Big dicks for Dark Angels. But
I mean, it sucks for everybody, right? The entire principle was that they can play the same things, the same fucking army now, right? That was the entire point of the change, and it's not very interesting to change that.
Yeah, it's not working. It's not good.
100%.
You can't be faction and then faction plus. That just isn't going to work. I could have told you that from day one. I probably complained about this once already. You people who listen to this know I complain a lot. I'm sure I've complained about this before. But, I don't... That's it. That's all you got. That's your out as Games Workshop. That's all you get.
I think they need to adopt the very old Chaos Space Marine rules where you used to pay to get put marks on units, and they just have to make everything that's unique to those chapters more expensive. And But at the same time, you want people to play those specialist chapters, but you just need to make all of that stuff more expensive then. Ball Predators need to go up. If you want to improve the situation without buffing the unique chapters, you need to find the realm where you make the units that are abusive in those other armies more expensive while fixing the other shit to let vanilla players play Marines better.
I just think it's what you get in unit diversity. I'm playing a Snowflake chapter. You lose in detachment diversity. I think that's fine.
That would be fair too.
I think that's okay.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
Right?
I mean, does it not just make Ultramarines significant? The thing I don't like about it is does that not just make Ultramarines have 6 unique detachments at that point? Where Dark Angels have 3?
No, you have to go in there and use the fucking twisty screw and pull some shit out probably. Like fucking Ultramarines need to get like Phillips head screwdrivered into their own books, which the Ultramarine people might be really excited about or something. But also maybe, just maybe, tune some of that other Marine shit up so that you're not just like, yeah, I'm gonna take the one that gives me the broken character that gives me extra CP every time, right? Like make Shrike, I don't know, make fucking Assault Pack Intercessors Battle Line and OC2 or some stupid shit. Like that wouldn't be very Raven Guard at all. But whatever, you get the idea. They can take 6-man Eliminator units. Bam, there you go. They get triple a Limb Pulsar. Woo! Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do about this, but like
it isn't what they're doing.
Yeah, what they're doing now is not going to work, and frankly, it's not going to work all edition. We're going to be like this is just a problem until 11th.
It's like, also for what it's worth, like they're not going to do that, right?
No.
So I don't think it's useful as like what do you do within the frame? What do you think people should do within the framework of the game that we're playing, right? The one where Black Templars are going to have access to Gladius and Ironstorm for the edition. What do you do within that framework? How would you approach fixing it?
I mean, you're going to do what Games Workshop's going to do, which is brutalize them with points, or just let them be broken. And, like, they'll be broken in the hands of the top, and, like, that'll exist. Like, they're close to what I imagine is Games Workshop's, like, platonic ideal of the state of 40K, right? Where the Space Marines are the best army in the game, and if an elite player plays them, they just win every tournament. But their win rate overall is probably okay because, frankly, that's not going to be what happens most of the time. And their player base is so big that it, like, evens out. So I think your options are largely, and I don't even really think they're going to get hit in balance slate because, frankly, their win rate isn't very good. And Games Workshop seems, bluntly at this point, incapable of looking past something other than win rate until I'm proven otherwise. Or sometimes they don't have enough data, and then their lead designer wins 7 tournaments in a row with the same army they didn't have enough data about. You know, coincidences. Anyway, the issue at hand is that, like, I don't think they're, like, their only solution they've given themselves is points or adding new units. And they're not going to do that at a left field. So we've got points. And their points options are brutalize the chapter-specific stuff to the point that you're playing standard Marines anyway. I guess that's all you got, right?
Yeah.
But I don't work in game design. I can just tell you when there is a problem. Me solving the problem, super not a good idea most of the time.
That's fair. So I think the main like takeaways is that I think Ironstorm multi-metas probably should be like 15 points rather than 5, and like realistically shouldn't exist. But like that boat sailed.
Yeah.
And then like again, Crusaders should not exist. That's a weird data sheet to be good in general.
Yeah.
And then Azrael is way too cheap. Like I think you could probably like fairly target like nerf like 5 data sheets. Like Darkshroud, Azrael, probably the Stormraven as well. Like that data sheet just shouldn't be playable, frankly. Warhammer is better when those things are terrible.
Smack them with a stick.
And then you're like, Azrael, Darkshroud, Templars vehicles in general, Crusaders. Why are they 75 points? Yeah, most of like I think all the Blood Angel side of things, like maybe +2 strength was too much. You could go back down to 1. But
I don't even think that change mattered, like literally at all. At least from my perspective, the only thing that change did was made me look at them again. In 0 of my games has me being strength 10 or 9 made any difference.
It's definitely come up a decent amount for me.
I haven't had it matter just like at all. I either do like 57 million damage to the target or I do 56 million damage to the target. I'm like, how many invulns did you pass, champ?
I don't know, man. Punch Bulgrin is painful, and I like being strength 6 for it.
I guess, but like, who's strength 6? None of the Power Fist dudes, and that's a lot of the army. I guess, but there's a captain in that squad.
Not in the Bulgrin. Anyway. There is enough stuff where the strength 6 threshold is a big deal that it gets you bigger scores, easier wins. Like it just does.
Yeah, but I don't think it like moves the needle.
For Blood Angels, you hit Death Company of both stripes and probably Sanguinary Priest, and you're probably like mostly fine. Yeah, like it's still good but not broken.
Maybe Death Company should reroll hits in ranged
or only melee.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Only like, why do they do that?
I was so astounded when my opponent, the first time I played in a Blood Angel, he was like, yeah, they reroll all hits, and I was like, with their pistols?
Yeah,
like what's going on?
Dude,
He's
they're
like,
pretty angry.
Yeah, they're pissed.
There are bolt guns in that kit, so they have to reroll hits at range.
Yeah, they're pissed, and you're right there, and they got a pistol in that hand.
GW never considered the fact that somebody would just strap 10 Inferno pistols.
Yeah, they're like, who's gonna do this? 2 come in the box.
Yeah, and
that's
then
what's
it's
really
like
going to happen is they're going to Tau battle suit the Death Company if they ever release.
they
this
100%
for
should.
it.
Yes,
They should van vet them, frankly, but
Ooh,
that too. Yeah,
but AP2 base.
I mean, Van Vet should be AP2 base as well. Like, if we're
No,
being reasonable,
that's
that
fine.
actually kind of sucks outside of exactly Blood Angels.
It's okay that they're bad. That's fine.
Fair enough. I mean, if we're going to complain about Marine chapter
I know,
not having,
joke.
I mean, like no, but in genuine seriousness, if one of the major complaints is that Marines in Codex don't have good melee options, Van Vets being terrible is a big part of that. If Van Vets weren't 5-1-1 lethal hits, if they hit on 2s, they were like 6-2-2, but like decently more expensive, but like a reasonable option. I think you'd see a lot more reason to play Codex chapters, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's jokes that they're like 105 points for 5 dudes, and those dudes are just shit. It's like, what the fuck have you done to my boys?
5-1-1, bro. 5-1-1.
Yeah.
I kind of have the same issue with like the Redemptor Dreadnought is mostly just a beef stick. Like it's kind of terrible in combat. Like it's AP2. Like it kind of sucks.
I mean,
the
it's
Brutalis
tank
is
shots, right. It's melee.
Sure.
Its melee profile starts with like deal 6 mortal wounds.
Sure.
And then
But
hits
you also
with
have the general spacing problem of I mean everything's good if you throw CP in Gladius, right? So
yeah, that's true.
there's layers to this stuff where if you give people a reason to not play those chapters, maybe they will, right? That's kind of the thing that you're coming at. Is that you probably have to start hitting other things.
The Brutalis Dread's AP3 in melee?
I think so, but they're also like not very good at anything, and they're significantly less defensive.
Yeah, make them better in melee. Boom.
We already said to hit the Stormraven, Azrael, and the Dark Shroud, Adam. Like 100%. I'm there with you. Like that list is an abomination that should not exist.
just Legends the Dark Shroud and be done with it.
Legends the Stormraven, for fuck's sake. Nobody needs that.
That would also be fine. I find that acceptable.
Yeah. Legends Dark Angels.
Just move all planes
That's
to
it.
Legends. It's okay. Just all of them. Every single airplane.
Yeah, we
Legends.
fucked up. Sorry. These shouldn't
No
be
more
a thing.
planes.
My bad.
These are for heresy now. It's okay. That
Yeah.
game can suck more.
Or for full scale Aeronautica Imperialis or whatever. They'll just
Yeah,
have
if that's
full
what you
scale
like.
Aeronautica instead. There you go, guys. Sorry.
I think there's a lot of things like you kind of, if you're going to nerf Marines, you have to buff the shit stuff because the army isn't that good outside of the best things, right? Like there is a very, very real.
That is a truism.
There's a very thin top end of viable things in Marines, and then you go down to the next layer, and it's like 200 data sheets of garbage.
Sure.
And
That's
making
always
some
gonna
of
be
that
part of the
garbage
problem.
less garbage and giving more diversity and options is probably how you fix the like super binary stuff. Ironstorm, I think you just need to like targetedly hit a couple of its abilities. Lethal hits should not be an aura. Mercy's weakness probably should be 2CB, like a couple of things like that. And I think Ironstorm gets a lot fairer, but definitely not like it'd still be good, right? Like don't get me wrong. I don't think killing a list needs to be the goal. Maybe Ironstorm deserves it. That 13 tanks is probably not a cool thing to play, but
Also, like, surely the first time a GW person sees that a limb pulsar get used in real time, it's gone, right? There's no way that they were like sitting down, like, you know what people will probably do with this?
you should not be allowed to get into a transport anytime other than during your movement phase. I stand by that rule. That's one of the Custodes stop its, right? Stop it, get into a transport out of your movement phase.
I don't think you should be able to get into a transport, period. Once that thing can start with stuff in it, and once those dudes leave, it's like leading for a unit. Once those dudes are out of that box stays empty.
There's the one Firestorm strat and the Starweaver and Venom special rule, and that's it. It's just those.
Not even those. Take those rules off the data sheets and give Venom a 5-up invuln back, please, for the love of God.
And one wound, please.
Venoms.
I won't lie.
Fast.
The funniest thing on the planet is that a Swooping Hawk has better saves than
Why would you point that out?
A Warp Spider has a better save than a Venom. A 3-up and a 5-up invulnerable save. and moves.
To be fair, though,
faster
Venom
and
is
has
better
better
in combat than a Vanguard veteran, so...
It's true. That's also fair. I like how much damage Anthony took though from that. Is that an elf in pajamas is better armored than a transport vehicle?
Why do Warsped have a 3-up save? Can I be mad about that for a bit now?
You can be mad about it. It's fine.
Cool, I'm mad about that. I just want everyone to know that.
Fair.
Also, D-cannons are back in the UK, and I don't enjoy that. There's so many 3 D-cannon lists out there. Stop it, please.
The support weapons? Yeah, they're good.
I hate them so much.
They're not even good. They're just annoying.
I mean, they're really good into triple land raider 6 NDKs.
I fucking guess.
Win them on 2s, bro. Strength 16.
I love that a D-cannon is the same strength as 2 exocrines put together.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same strength as Angron, right?
No,
Yeah.
he's 17 on the charge.
I was looking at the Seraptic Heavy construct because I think that model's rad, and it has a strength 24 weapon, and I was like, that's neat.
Yeah, Wound Knights on Tuesday.
It can also hypercrypt 3-inch deep strike.
And it can hypercrypt 3-inch deep strike. I don't know why you do it. It has 2 guns at strength 24 strapped to it. It's quite funny.
Maybe you could be directly above somebody and be outside 3 of them.
We're gonna pretend that there's no even though I think GW
measure-
for the
yeah,
diagram. I know you used to.
It's 3 inches horizontally only, I know, but it'd be funny.
It would be funny. You're not actually in
Puts its
engagement
legs
range of
up.
this unless you can touch its feet.
Yeah.
Its special rule of anybody in being in engagement range needing to take a battle shock test will never not amuse me.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's actually
You
what the
can't-
rule is like horrifying monstrosity, and it is definitely just a guy going, "What the fuck is that?"
Oh,
Adam,
Adam's
you
right,
can-
actually. That would work.
You can't increase the impulsor capacity to 7 because there's only 6 seats in the back of it and it's open topped. You can see there's only 6 seats. GW won't allow it to be 7. Same with the drop
Alright,
one, it's only
listen,
10.
Hear me out. So, you can use the 7-seat on the impulsor, but once you disembark, the impulsor is not allowed to move.
Ever again.
The driver just has to run out.
It's like a drop pod. They throw him the shield. They're like, "Welcome to the first company, lad. You're in there with the Bloodguard vets now. Go on, son."
No, you're not. You have to either choose. You can't move or you can't use the guns. Like, because there's 2.
No.
Obviously, there's a driver and a gunner.
Yeah, neither.
They really need to add a caveat that if you can get back into transports, that you can't fire the ranged weapon twice using firing deck or
They
whatever.
just shouldn't
Just
let.
add the caveat and be done with it.
I don't know what.
Like,
I would probably
I watched
actually
somebody
just
do
so
it.
you. Sorry,
I definitely
go for it.
No, it's fine. I definitely just watched somebody do it to me with eliminators and was like, I guess.
I watched.
Like, this is neat.
I watched
Cool.
a-
All the last few souls.
I watched 3 sisters characters die to the Impulsor. Like 1, 2, back in 3.
Yep.
It definitely shouldn't be a thing, and they just need to add a caveat to firing deck and be done with it.
I would probably just make it so that you have to run. If you run the last fusils, the sergeant has to have one as well. So they're just triple last fusel. And then you can you can choose if you have the sniper loadout, they can have it, but if they have the last fusils, all 3 of them have a last fusel. It would make eliminator significantly worse. You could probably drop their points, but fine.
Yeah.
I hate them.
I do hate firing deck. Just something fierce.
It's the strangest
I
mechanic.
do hate it.
Firing
I
deck
think
sucks. OC was a mistake. I could go on for ages. This fucking edition's been bad from the jump. And
Speaking of getting back into transports, have you ever had the situation, Anthony, where all the assault intercessors of all the death company have died around your chaplain, and now he has tacticus and can't get back in the Rhino because he's not attached to a unit that doesn't have tacticus?
No,
it came up. It was very strange.
my death company on foot unit is either at full health or all dead. I've never had like a small amount of them survive.
I had the chaplain live at like 2 wounds because he scams and involves. I was like, I'd like to get him out of here. I can't get back in the Rhino. Fuck.
Yeah, I don't. Oops.
Oopsies.
Yeah.
Keywords.
My armor
Love
suddenly
him.
no longer fits. He's scared of it, like the Bulgrenar. He's scared of
He
getting
needs to
back
be
into the
taken by
Rhino.
the hand by the death company. They're like, come on, lassie. Well,
They have to remind the chaplain to duck. That's what it
just
is.
keeps
Otherwise, he just hits his
fucking
head.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. He just.
What we should
needs to
actually just
remind-
lower all weapon skill and ballistic skill values in the game by 1. Just every single one of them. Just drop them all by 1. And then like all of them go back to 2s. And like prime
Go-
marks. Yeah, like everything that's 3s goes to 4s, everything that's 4s goes to
Okay.
5s, etc., etc. Just make everything less damage. Fuck it. Fuck doing damage.
Sure. Sorry, I heard decrease, and I was like, so all 3s go to 2s is what I
No,
immediately thought of in my brain.
No.
every range.
You are
unit
Mr.
in the
Berserker. All right, shall we move on to show questions? Because I think we're just vamping
Yes,
on
we're
Marines
just
now.
vamping on Marines.
But God,
That's
I hate
okay.
that. I hate that Army's design so much.
They fucked up.
They
It's
did.
fun to play though. Blood Angels is
It
sick.
is.
I will be honest, Blood Angels is the most fun that I've had playing 10th edition in quite a long time.
Yep.
Because you get just enough gun so that you can participate in the shooting phase.
More
And
importantly,
then-
you participate in the Overwatch phase.
Yes, you get to participate in Overwatch because you have flamers all over the place, which is also fun and so much better than not being able to participate in it at all. And rapid ingressing and then charging with 10 Death Company and Lamarties is a drug. That's just all it is.
I will tell you the title of my last Blood Angels list I wrote, though, is called Guns Are for Fucking Cowards.
That's true, yeah.
And it's very similar to Innes's list that he's playing for Alpine, but instead of the Lancers and basically any trash at all, like literally like no scouts, no Calidus, has 20 Van Vets with Sang Priests.
Fuck yeah, dude. I'm pretty sure we drafted that list up, didn't we?
We got close, and then I literally this morning I took your list and was like, "What if I wasn't a coward and cut all anything that scores?" And
yeah, no, we drafted up the 30 list. We were like, we should cut one of these bricks for some balls, right?
One was too many, and then this list does have though. You know, a small unit of inquisitorial henchmen because someone's got to hold the backfield, and it's not going to be any of the units that I just said.
Dude, I am with this current version of the list. I'm like making any excuse to get an assault intercessor squad out so I can drive an impulsor back. I'm just like, dude, just go hold it, please.
I've been fucking telling you for weeks that the infiltrators are great. You're like, fuck you, Anthony. No,
I just refuse to spend 100 points on them when the impulsor can do it.
Oh, good.
They are. I know they are. I ain't. Mama ain't raised no bitch.
Oh, God.
Questions now. So there are questions not for Steve in our Discord where you can ask
Holy shit.
or super chat them. They were mostly questions for Steve, to be fair.
Yeah, that's smart.
It deserves
So
it.
if you want to get a question answered on air, you either need to join our Patreon Discord, where for $5 a month you can join our Patreon, join the Discord, and ask questions in our show questions channels in those threads. Otherwise, if you super chat or if you just regular chat it, I might find it. But those being in the Patreon Discord or super chatting it are the only ways to guarantee getting your question answered on air. All right, so I'm going to start with the Discord questions. The first one is from Derek, which is, what's the coolest Tau Sept and why? Also hope everyone's doing well.
Kel Sean because of the color scheme. Black and yellow. Hell yeah.
Just looking like angry hornets. I like Farsight. I like the color scheme of red. I love red color scheme that Farsight's Enclave's got.
Yeah, Brian's Tau Army looks sick, but I would do black and teal.
I do like the VR stuff when they moved away from the because obviously all the Tau Codex covers are the Tau Sept stuff, but the GW models on the website now are the VR stuff, which is the white and red. I quite like that as well.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
The next question is from Kriegerbot Chaz, which is for Anthony. Communicating intent is part and parcel of 40K. Wow, this is a really long question. I sometimes struggle and forget minor things that are painfully obvious in my head, such as Dark Pact, but then rely on my opponent's kindness in case Mr. Cockup comes to visit. When playing Blood Angels, what kind of communication issues do you feel are more common with melee-focused armies, and do you find it hard to talk with Plastic Fangs?
Talking with Plastic Fangs definitely can be difficult, but it's usually okay when you just need a little bit of practice first. I recommend practicing at home with the missus. She'll probably be into that type of thing. I don't know, like communication in general in 40K can be really tough because there's a lot of like you have to. Maybe before I finish this, some amount of what I'm about to say applies to the fact that I've basically played nothing but like invitation only high level teams events for like the last like 4 events. For some of them, and then like Alpine is like just a giant teams event comprised of not mostly because there's 300 people there, but a lot of national level players. So caveat, but there's a level of like assumed competence I play most 40K games with. Where if I see something like wildly crazy happen, I just look at my opponent and I'm like, surely not, right? And we like talk it out as adults trying to accomplish a thing together. For most things, that works, right? If you tell your opponent at the beginning of the game, like Lennon has one of the better like speeches that go with this, but like the truncated version is basically like, for the sake of playing quickly, are you cool with saying that if you move into a shooting lane and I've left a single sword out that I could very easily have just rotated in the movement phase if I was paying attention, are you cool with just like fixing that and I'll give you the same courtesy with my stuff, right? And that, as long as you play things like they're a two-way street like that, everything's kosher. But it's really important to have that conversation at the start of the game, not when you're like, you know, in the shit. For me, this comes up a lot as a melee army, specifically to answer your question, in deployment. I find a lot of the times people deploy in what they assume is very safe, and I have to be like, hey, just so we're on the same page, not so safe. And again, a lot of that goes to having the conversation. Hopefully your opponent is reciprocal with you in the same way later. But there's not really a great solution to it other than like, hopefully they don't fuck you and just try and be a good person most of the time. And if they do screw you, then don't be nice again for the rest of the game. At least that's my personal approach.
It's definitely a two-way street, and the best games of 40K are played with intent. And sometimes you need to be the example first for like how you want to play the game. Even if you have the conversation, you need to be like, hey, your guy is like, I can see that guy's sword. You want to turn him so he's in cover. Sometimes when you do that stuff for your opponent and show him that you're like willing to let them do stuff like that in those situations, they're usually willing to reciprocate for you. That doesn't mean all the time that that's going to happen. And sometimes people are going to fuck you over. And sometimes 40K is just going to be like that because the social construct doesn't apply to all people. That's all.
Yep.
The next question is also for Anthony and is from Typhus. Anthony, what is the correct way to do the US to Europe tournament trips in a way to not hate yourself?
Okay. So, oh man. All right. So there's a couple of components of this that like make this possible for me. Step one is that I have been very lucky in finding a nice European person to create a soft landing for me. Basically, from the minute I land in Europe until I leave, I do very little of my own thinking or planning. So most of the time, I'm just responsible for landing to a place alive. And then from there, often you, Typhus, or someone else kind of covers the gap for me. That helps a lot. Obviously, if you don't have access to that, you can do it like lightly toned down version of that, of like going and hanging out with some locals to cover the difference for you. But really, what I've learned from the last couple trips is A, not to schedule them within 3 weeks of each other, and B, maybe fly out on the Wednesday and land on the Thursday. It extends your trip by like, you know, an extra day total, but Lord, will it help with the jet lagged and hanging out situation. So those are the easiest things. Also, fly out of a major airport. You can keep the costs like much more reasonable if you do that, even if you're flying direct. Like I just like am allergic to taking flights with a connection because I get way too anxious about it. But it's still like even flying direct for everything. I can keep most flights around $1,000, you know, plus or minus $100 on either end with flying direct if you fly out of a large major airport.
The next question is, where data slate? Also, what's the best case to use while flying with an army?
I have a Magna Rack something. I'll figure it out and post a link in stat check later, but it's the same one I've had forever.
Is it the one that fits in the overhead compartment?
It always fits as an overhead storage.
32, I think, is what it is.
32 or 52 or something. Yeah. I don't remember which, but it's dope.
I fly with the KR cases that have like the 2 cardboard case one in the backpack. It fits in every overhead I've ever done. If you can get away with it and you're playing a small army, you can often put one in your clothes in the front half if you don't want to take luggage as well, which has been super handy. I've done that for a few times recently.
Yeah.
The next question is from Tom, which is, hey, Anthony. A lot of these are for Anthony this week. I have a big event coming up soon, and after practicing the same list for a few months, I want to swap to something else. Would 3 practice games be enough time to adjust?
Tom, I'll show up at your house. You live close enough to me that I'll do it. Don't fucking do it.
Believe in yourself. Swap. It'll be fine.
Don't do it. The next question is from Jack, which is, are there any weird doodads/tools that made it into your tournament bag that you can't remove?
I don't think any of them are stuck.
Chest block. Like have a 3-inch widget, especially if you're playing a melee army. I like having a bunch of like 9-inch and 6-inch gauges as well because I'm measuring like 6-inch auras is like the thing that I'm the worst at in Warhammer, which is saying something. I'm very bad at it. I definitely recommend like if you don't have neoprene objectives, get them. They make you the game so much easier to play.
Yeah.
But if you're going to play an event that has like the ritual or deploy servo skulls, bring some additional 40 mil bases and some blue tack. You will want them. It definitely makes playing those missions much easier. Like 40 mil discs, like the old tokens, like the disc style ones, or even if you've got like battle shock markers that are also 40 mil objectives, that's the way I've done it. So like I have something I can use if we play those missions, and then blue tack so they don't get moved about and kicked when they're underneath the void dragon. Is there anything else? Wound dials I tend to find much better than dice. Dice get knocked and lost and things like that. Wound dials tend to stick around. I prefer them to dice, but each their own on that one. Like it's kind of dealer's choice.
Yeah, that's funny. Like I could never read the dial, so I'm just completely lost on how many wounds something has. Pretty much always.
Entirely fair.
The next question is from Scott, which is, how many armies can you own before it becomes too many?
3, 4. Like, that's for me.
I have like a dozen, and I'm always still like, maybe I should buy Tau. So, you know, everyone has their own level. What can you reasonably keep up with hobby-wise and also keep on top of, like, being willing to switch to? Like, if you have an army that you just have to have it, and you're not really playing it competitively, like, do you really have it? Like, I own Admech. I don't have an Admech army. So it's like, you're probably going to limit out about 5 that you're like reasonably keeping up with if you're doing a decent amount of hobby in all of them before it starts becoming like way too many. And realistically, like 3 is probably a good amount, as Anthony says.
Yeah.
KR Quintero has the right answer, which is, how big is your house? That's the limit.
How big is your partner's patience? That's the other one.
Yeah.
That's another one, yes.
Your paycheck. There's a couple balancing factors.
Don't put yourself into deep credit card debt over 40K, please. Don't do that to yourself.
I'm working
Do not recommend.
That one guy, John, asks, how do you prepare to pivot hobby-wise before a new patch/codex? Do we need to be Francois level already, or just have the key pieces?
I am not helpful here. I make Jim sad.
I have a lot of stuff built and undercoated, but not painted. Where I'm like, if I need it, it's like not done enough that I won't feel bad about chopping arms off, but that I can like not have to spend all the time building it if I need it for an event. That's kind of, I have a, like, as much as I have fully painted, I have about half as much again sitting like ready to go if I need it. And then I just kind of like bad dash, get comfortable with like, if you have a paint scheme, find the minimum steps you need to do to get a tabletop ready that you can still come back later on. Like if you do 5 layers of highlighting and all that stuff, like how much can you do if you just do the 2 and then come back to it? Like get comfortable with lowering your hobby standards temporarily and then go back to it when you have time. That's the other way to get around that sort of stuff.
Also, if you're like Francois, you can hire your children to build all your models for you to save time on your pivots.
That's it. Or just spend money. That's the other option.
Yep. You can do that. The next question is from Frank, which is, might be hard to answer, but at what point in your singles career did you realize you could get away with running lists you were comfortable with as opposed to pure meta net lists?
That's not a thing.
Years ago. Like, obviously it depends on the level of event, but like a local GT or an RTT, yeah, I can get away with playing whatever you want as long as you're feeling the vibe. You won't always have the same level of success with it, but for a GT, it's like, you know, the required level of input isn't necessarily that high. For Worlds or WTC or, you know, a super major or whatever, you will never get away with it unless you are exceptionally lucky or very ahead of the meta. I think that's probably the...
Yeah. I think this is a bad thing to aspire to.
It 100% is.
I don't
Now,
think it's
if you want to
realistic.
get to a point, now I think the interesting part of that is, it's, you know, if you want to get to the level where you can be the person who just plays whatever faction you feel like for like your local RTTs, like you don't have to be that good to get to the point where you can competently pick up an army and have fun with it. I think that's a level that you can aspire to if that's a part of the hobby that you would enjoy, is being a hobby snowflake. Like there are people who do enjoy playing a different army every week, and you can definitely get to that point. It's not that difficult. Once you're like capable of winning a GT, you can probably pick an army in like 2 games to RTT level or like local GT level. I don't think that's particularly.
I think that your review on that is entirely skewed by you being like a top 10 world player. And I think that for the like overwhelming majority of people, that it will be like, it's just really hard to be really good at Warhammer with something with like really low reps, I think. But maybe like, you know, our standards for what this like success at this looks like. But like for me,
I mean, like for the level of, can you jump to an army and have fun with it, right? That's what I'm like kind of getting to.
well,
and I think you can do that pretty quickly.
Yeah, the have fun bit is like real relative depending on who you're talking to, right? Like, you're going to get tilted when you go 1 and 2 at an RTT because you played 1 game with an army. Like, I would. And that's a thing that could happen to me if I switch.
Yeah, I mean, done that, it's fine, right? Like, it happens.
Yeah.
You're going to lose games. It doesn't matter who you are. You will at some point lose a game. Getting comfortable with it in low-stakes environments is one of the best things you can do. And if, like, jumping armies can help with that as well in some senses.
Yeah. But I feel like that's a different problem to solve, right? If you're not comfortable losing games, you shouldn't resolve that by like trying to lose more in a competitive setting. That seems like backwards ass resolution.
No, dude, it's exposure therapy. That's why I played Vota. That's why I played on Index War with the RTT.
Yeah, building yourself up to, you know, immunity to bigger bullets with smaller ones. What are we doing here, man?
Nicholas
trying.
W asks, how many points do you think they should be? They seem pretty good.
Who?
Breacher plus fish.
Ah.
How many points do you think the new Breacher plus fish should be? They
400.
seem pretty good.
That plus 10.
I love it. Garan asks, for Anthony, what does a player need to or to play World Eaters on a high level?
Just a ton of games, man. Like, it's not, you know, there's no like, as much as like I would love to like sell you a line of like, if you would like to know the secrets to World Eaters, come see me and I will coach you through the secrets. And what we'll do is we'll get in a call and I'll be like, hey man, so what's gonna have to happen is you're gonna play a whole lot. And you'll do that in some level with my guidance, but really the secret is the same. The secret's always the same. It's work really hard and play a whole bunch of fucking games. Because most of what you need to play to master World Eater play for a high level is a really keen understanding of like what another army is capable of, the tempo flow of the game, and intimately understand the heuristics of their damage output, your output, the cards left in your tactical deck, the flow of the game, and a broad strokes understanding of what's needed from you at that moment in that turn. And if you can figure all that shit out, by that point, you're probably pretty fucking good at World Eaters. But you're never going to do that by moving 10 points around in your list in Battlescribe. And you're certainly not going to do it by putting a Demon Prince in instead of Karn.
The next question is from Mark, which is Hellbrutes in World Eaters?
No. Next.
The next question is an image from another Discord from Glasshammer Matt, which says, what mirror match is the most cursed? I think Grey Knights is, personally.
It's got to be T-Suns.
It's Eldar and it's not close.
No, it's T-Suns and it's not close. What? T-Suns players play in 4 realities at the same time of like all these like Schrodinger's model placements. It's literally like if there was 2 of Doctor Strange from the Avengers fighting in multiple realities against each other. It's awful. Sure. I've watched a lot of T-Suns mirrors in the last couple of days. It's bad.
The next question is from John Johnston, which is, what are you hoping in the data slate coming this month? And are you excited for A, the memes about it being late again, or B, Tyranids getting nerfed again?
Dude, if Tyranids get nerfed again.
What the old one I just put in the ground. Yeah. Gargoyles do deserve it, though. Like, let's be real. If they gave everything else in the book a 20% points drop for increasing Gargoyles to 75 points a model, I'd snap your hand off. So
I think that is what they should do. I think every time a Gargoyle breaks off its base, the Tyranid player should lose 5 battle points.
It happens so often.
Yeah.
The fact that Norns are more expensive than Catan gives me an aneurysm. So let's just resolve that.
I could have lived all day without knowing that.
The assimilator is
They're more
290.
expensive than
Bridge
Redeemers.
255.
They're more expensive than Redeemers.
Like, that's okay in theory. Like, the Norn and this, oh god, that's so painful.
The next question is from JH, which is there a way to practice the macro aspect of a game in order to get better at it? Any good tips for improving?
Yeah, like challenge your assumptions. If you go into a game, like think about what your plan is, like write it down, hold yourself to account, and then like check back were you right or not. Just do the test. You know, some people will get it. Like you don't have to do it. You can get better over the long term. But if you want to focusedly improve it, like test yourself. What did you think the macro of the game was going to be? What was your macro strategy? Did you get it right? Why did you get it wrong? What would you do differently next time? You have to just practice it. That's all it is. And the more you put into it, the more you will get out of it.
Yeah, it's again like we have this issue. Like it's like the single largest issue. And like moving the competitive discourse forward in 40K is not like, you know, the size of the game or like the ability of the content creators or really too much of anything like that right now. I don't think. I think it's literally just that we look at decades of other things that people have gotten good at and go, well, surely that doesn't apply to this. And I don't know why that's what happens so often, but it is.
Yeah. People get good at the games by learning the theory and then applying it. Go and learn the theory and then apply it. That is how you get good at anything, and Warhammer is not different. Now, Warhammer is different in the sense that we spent a long time where there was not a lot of theory, and people just vibed it, and people who got good during the time where they just vibed it, shout out to me, can sometimes have difficulty putting that into words, but people are getting better at this. There is more content than ever that has that kind of stuff. Like, you don't have to do it that way. You can ask people questions and have answers that exist about like situations and approaches, and like go and put yourself in a situation and then go, okay, if this situation comes up, what would I do next time? How is it different? Yep. You know, look at a stream game and think, how is this going to play? And then look at how it plays. Like, you don't have to play a game to do it, but if you don't understand what's going on in a game, then figure out why you don't understand it and how you can like then try to find a way to understand it more.
Hear me out. If you're like just trying to get better, just get a coach. Like in every other competitive setting, like the idea that you would ever like step into a ring or a cage with zero coaching on how to do the competitive thing before you got to that point would get you laughed out of that competitive thing. And I'm not saying it needs to be like that for 40K, but like, what? It's cool, man. Like, this thing is competitive. It's not like this weird, like, casual adjacent thing anymore. If you want to do well at tournaments, you're probably going to want the assistance of the people that have already done well at tournaments. They can shortcut a whole bunch of that learning for you.
Clown Mode gave us $5 via Super Chat, technically $4.99. So I'm going to ask their Super Chat questions.
But leave the last word out because it was $4.99 and not $5.
True. So I'm going to leave one word out. What would you try to pair Anthony's Blood Angels into for teams? What would you blank? ?
Boy, that second question really does change without that last word.
Dude, just don't play Thousand Suns and you'll be fine. The list is okay into everything else. But, dude, Thousand Suns is so rough.
Yeah, Thousand Suns is not great.
You try to rapid ingress into your death, you're just like, oh, this is not going to work.
Yeah, playing against Thousand Suns sucks with every army in the game right now. They're the most broken thing in 10th, and they've been since release besides exactly Eldar, and we still exist with this state. Anyway, the issue like Ennis said, there's really not anything. Like the army's just really fucking strong, and most of the times it just blasts whatever problems it has with Power Fist until enemy gone. Like,
you can occasionally like mass volume 2-up save toughness 10 can be a little awkward in terms of activation, but you can definitely manage it.
Yeah,
like Iron Storm, you can sometimes just like not enough stuff to like Chaos Knight, stuff like that. Like
it's
you know what I mean. But like they're like mass volume toughness 10 or 2-up save. Like there's a little bit of, you will hit a threshold where if they're careful about playing around your shooting, but you will have the board control. So if you can resolve it through the board control side of the game, you will be at least drawish, if not slightly better. Just don't let it slip past that, and you'll be fine. Going second against indirect is going to suck. Sorry, I can't fix that. GW needs to do that sometime.
Yeah,
But
I
you
mean,
will still be fine. It is playable.
yeah, it's weird. Like the army's really good into most things. But yeah, like I haven't run like I haven't even been vaguely close to getting stat checked. That hasn't even been almost a thing. The turn where I killed 2 Catan and a monolith, I was like, it's never happening. This army is never getting stat checked.
I bounced hard off of 18 Bulgren, not gonna lie.
I mean, that's what you get for playing the version without the fan vets in it.
The next question is from Davlos, which is, does Anthony shadowbox during his opponent's shooting phases?
No, but I used to shadowbox a ton when I was like, actively fighting.
If you pay Anthony enough money in real life, he will shadowbox for you. Though I think I could probably.
Yeah, there's definitely a money threshold where I could be paid to do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Existence UK asks, so besides Marines, what are your thoughts on other slate stuff?
I started this one for a reason. Existence, we are going to be milking data slate pre-content for the next 3 weeks because it's not coming out to the end of April at the very earliest. So we will continue to drip feed you one faction every week, maybe 2.
You get Marines this week, maybe
come back
week.
for more next week. Like and subscribe. Hit us up on the Patreon if you want to ask questions quicker. But we are here to drip feed you the content like we're Hellstorm Wargaming.
Let's go. That was so good. Good job, Ennis.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like maybe next week we'll do, like the chaos wish list at the end of the episode.
Oh, we should do Eldar next week. I want to do Eldar.
No, we'll do Xenos the week after.
Okay.
We'll rotate it like CW did.
Yeah.
We'll do Imperium, Chaos, Xenos.
Well, we did Space Marines. We've got Imperium, Chaos, and Xenos and Eldar left to do. So we got 4 more weeks of this left.
Wait a minute.
You know what I mean? There's tons of Xenos factions like Votan, Necrons, etc., etc. We can pair Eldar out into their own that we can leave till last, so we miss it if the data slate's early.
That would be fucking funny, actually. That would be great.
All
right, guys, it's Eldar week. Anyway, we have the data slate, so fuck that noise. Here we go.
That was the last question. Ennis, do you want to thank everybody, and then I'm going to do the high five thing for the Church of the High Five?
There was something else I wanted to say. I had something I wanted to say to Jeremy, but he's not here. That's fine. I'll message him
in chat.
Later.
He's in YouTube.
Yeah, I know. I watched mine and Jeremy's stream game from Crumpus Claus a couple years ago. I watched like a couple of little bits of it because it like popped up in my recommended feed, and I was watching the end of it where Jeremy apologized for breaking my models, and I wanted to just let him know that I've still not fixed them. So it's just like 2 Raveners exploded and they're still exploded in a case somewhere. So
nice.
Just wanted to let you know that, Jeremy. Hope you're having a great time. I think that's everything. So thank you so much to everybody for being with us for episode 85 of Stat Check. This has been Champions of 40 Kiwi. I'm Ennis. I've been joined by Nathan and Anthony. Special thanks to everybody who is involved in our Patreon. That's patreon.com/StatCheck. Nathan will be doing the closing out for all of our super special higher tier patrons. Remember to check out the YouTube, likes, comments, subscriptions, all that good stuff. Our sponsors are Red Dragon, Whale Yutani, and Saltar Games. Please do check them out in all their respective places. All the links are down below. End of the Matrix, Takeover Commerce, Champions of 40K, and X&1 are the other shows available on this network. They will all be scheduling themselves at their own various times. I reckon this week the thing that you're most going to want to check out is the End of the Matrix episode on the Alpine Cup, where myself and Anthony will be traveling this Friday. If you are at the Alpine Cup and you want to come and see us, Anthony is due you a crisp high five, and we'll gladly give it to you if you're a member of the Patreon at the certain tier that we're allowed to show you affection in public. Otherwise, just come say hi, come have a drink with us. We'll have a good time. If you're at an event this weekend, best of luck. Smash it. Unless you're playing Greatest or Necrons, in which case I hope you suffer for your sins. Nathan closes out.
All right. So if you join the special A Crisp High Five tier on the Patreon, which is $15 a month, you get a series of personalized benefits from us, including a crisp high five from any member of the network at this point. Sorry, Steve, you weren't told about this, but apparently now you're dragged into this as well. Any of us will give you a crisp high five at any event that we're attending, including Steve Joll. There are other personalized benefits for other members that you can read about in the description of the tier. One of them is that I'm going to read this list of people's names who are in the tier. And every time I forget somebody and then somebody tells me later. But it's a very weird list in a Discord and it's not been centralized at all. But I'm going to do it anyways. So thank you to Fungus, a Citronaut emoji, a Dan F, Mr. Pig, Archon Rahal, Hog Emoji, David Clark, Chris, Hadar, and I think that's everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
And then the other thing that I'm supposed to do before we bye-bye is I'm going to high five this camera so all of you can high five today.
Bam.
Congratulations. There's your
Check
high five.
check out Champions of 40K with Seth Foster, available on the StatCheck Network now. Nathan, say the word.
Bye-bye.